Hey guys, I want to take a second to thank Comfort Pro. Since 2001, Comfort Pro has been helping customers stay comfortable where they live, work, and play. They stand behind their work with a 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. They have 24/7 emergency service, and if you mention the show, you receive a free watchdog maintenance plan for 1 year. Call Comfort Pro at 484-917-1803. 484-917-1803. That's Comfort Pro. This is going to be a good one, Hugo.
The Brad Weisman Show. Real people, real life, and everything in between.
So what do your kids think of this?
Oh, they are so embarrassed.
I'm not here for the money, but I'll still take it. Take it.
Unfiltered conversations with the people shaping our world.
Because you're judging yourself by your intentions, they're judging you by your actions.
Exactly right.
You know, my wife said to me, you go to work and you give everyone the Mitchell buffet, and you come home and you give me the scraps.
And now, your host, Brad Weisman.
All right. I didn't think I'd be making it today, Hugo. I did not think I'd be making it.
Yet here you are.
Yet here I am. So this show is brought to you by Ricola, because I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. and I was like, I don't have a voice. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day without a voice. How am I going to make this happen? So I panicked. I have to say I panicked, which is what I do. And I called the guest and said, hey, dude, I can't make this happen. And he said, you're a jerk. No, he didn't say that. No, we went back and forth. And you know what? It was cool. We worked it out. And, you know, this guy's a great guy. We wanted to get him in here for a long time. I mean, he's been doing podcasts forever. And we had him on the podcast. It was, I'm going to say a year and a half ago, Hugo. Yeah. It's been a while. But he was here through streaming. So this time, we've got him in the studio. His name is Jeremy Ryan Slate. And I'm going to read his bio just so that you know all the stuff that he's doing. It's just the easiest way to do it. It says Jeremy Ryan Slate is the host of the Jeremy Ryan Slate Show, which studies the highest performers in the world. He studied literature at Oxford University, as well as holding a master's in early Roman Empire propaganda, which is the one that blows my mind, from Seton Hall University. His podcast was named the #1 podcast to listen to by Inc. magazine, as well as top 40 under 40 by Podcast magazine. Jeremy and his wife, Brielle, co-founded Command Your Brand, a new media public relations agency designed to help entrepreneurs share their message by appearing as guests on podcasts. He resides in Stillwater, New Jersey, where he raises his children and chickens, and he's a former competitive power lifter too. I mean, come on. Let's bring Jeremy on. Jeremy, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, man, and I definitely appreciate you making this go, because I know we talked a few hours ago early this morning. You were not feeling
It was
great,
not good this morning.
You sound good now, man.
It's there.
You got the great
90%.
radio voice happening right now, man.
I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, you know, you're all over the place. You really are. You're doing the thing that blew my mind is I think the first time I talked to you was on the podcast that we did streaming. We didn't talk anything about Roman Empire at all.
Nobody talked about it though, because I'll be 40 in a year. So this is what I did my master's in like almost 20 years ago.
That's amazing.
And nobody cared. And then there was a meme that popped up, I think like 3 or 4 years ago. Do you probably remember this about men thinking about the Roman Empire? Do you remember this or no?
I don't.
So Saturday Night Live had a song. You got to look it up. It's
I'm
great.
going to look it up.
Jason Momoa actually sings the song.
Oh, yeah.
So they have this men think about the Roman Empire became like a real meme. And I did a podcast with Cal Fussman about 3 years ago. And it was just like a minor point in the bio, like you read there. And he goes, tell me about the Roman Empire. So we ended up doing like 2 hours on the Roman Empire. And next thing I know, like I was getting, James Altucher wanted to do something. And then in the last couple of years, we've done some incredible shows talking about, it initially started about, the Roman Empire. Why do people care about it? And I've really started talking about in the last couple of years, civilizational collapse, because there's some patterns and things that are the same that people look at. Money's a really big one and what's happening with it. And it's been kind of incredible because to me as an agency owner, it's allowed me to take the knowledge I have and actually build something that works like it did for our clients, but we'd never really done for me, which is kind of amazing,
right? And that's what's cool, because I remember when you started getting into this, the whole doing those talks and the podcasts and things about the Roman Empire, and I remember looking at the similarities, which is scary as hell. But then I remember you saying, we've done this for everybody, and I've always been doing this, but here's something that I have a passion for. Mm-hmm. And you know what's funny? Isn't it funny how life, the things you have passion for will find its way through?
Yeah.
It will find its way through and you will do it. And it's weird how things like work like that in life.
Well, it's also like the thing that I like talk my family members' ears off.
Roman Empire?
Yeah.
You must be really fun to be at dinner.
I am so boring to be around, man. I am not an interesting.
Do you bring out the coins and stuff?
I bring out the coins. Yeah,
coins?
those are actually.
Yeah, this is
shout out to my good friend Dean Kinzer from Kinzer Coins. He sends me all these coins. So I brought a couple for Brad.
These are for me to keep.
Those are for you to keep. Those are 3rd century coins. If you notice by the color of them, Rome had hit 15,000% inflation by the late 3rd century.
Yes.
So those are supposed to be silver denarius, but they're actually almost 100% bronze. The silver has totally come off because it had become a coating at that point. But those are your
Thank you so
3rd
much.
century coins that I think they're worth maybe about $50, but they're a very cool thing to have.
So kind. Well, they're going to be in the
2,000 years
studio
old,
here.
yeah.
That's a story right there. So it's 2,000 years old.
2,000 years old right there on your desk.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it 2,000 years. Just so you know, I'm pretty much sure I'm
Oh,
not
if they
going to.
mummify you, Brad, it might, have a Alexander the Great type of sarcophagus.
Yeah.
for you,
Maybe
man.
I'll be stuck in that radio. They'll put me in the radio, and I'll age in there very well. That's
It'll be
1942,
like,
by the way.
Knight Rider. You'll be Kit.
Yes, Kit, exactly. Oh God, great show. That was a good show. So yeah, let's go in. What we're going to do, this is going to be interesting. I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks of how am I going to, or how are we going to interweave Command Your Brand. So we want to give the value to the audience of the branding because you guys are super good at that.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we also want to weave in the Roman history and the stuff that you're doing there. So it might be a little bit back and forth. I'm just telling the audience this might get a little back and forth between Rome and branding. But what I wrote was Command Your Brand the way the Romans did. You know, that's kind of what. So let's go into the Command Your Brand. Let's talk about that because that's really what kind of got you started in this whole podcast realm. It's what we talked about last time you were on. Tell me where that is and tell me if there's any updates on branding and podcasting, all that stuff.
Well, and you've been in podcasting a while too, so this
6
space
years.
has changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
I've been in this space since 2014, and I think the thing that's interesting is you've seen the space kind of started with a lot of individual creators, and a lot of the big companies weren't really succeeding,
right?
And now you're seeing, and we're seeing this especially in the agency world, a lot of the big companies are actually starting to come in and buy the small agencies.
Oh,
so it's changing the space a lot, but I think there's still an ability for individual creators to do well. Now, the thing that I am seeing is back in 2014, this is like 80 to 90% audio only.
Yeah.
And the thing that we're seeing now is video is becoming such a big component of it. I know even for myself.
Yeah, same here, obviously.
About 4 years ago, we kind of went all in on video, and we've really started to focus on YouTube as our number one thing. And I think for individual creators and companies, that's a really good way to get found because it's the number 2 search engine out there. Now,
it's number 2 next to what, Google?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's interesting, I think people stress out because they see the studio you have and everybody thinks they have to have something like this.
You don't.
And for me, I'm just shooting monologues that I read off a teleprompter and I use an
But you do have good quality though.
But it's just an iPhone on continuity camera with one umbrella light. So it's like if you kind of learn a good setup, you can do a really great job, have a nice shot. And those things do matter because you need the aesthetic quality to get picked up. So I think in 2026, if you're going to succeed, you do have to care quite a bit about the production quality, but that doesn't mean having a studio. It does mean having a nice aesthetic shot, looking good and sounding good. But you can do really well with having tools like vidIQ to get the right titles, the right thumbnails, and things like that.
Yep.
So if you're going to do well now, I think it really does come down to having a video show, not having an audio only show in 2026. You're not going to get found. You're going to be stuck at less than 100 listens an episode and things like that. But it does give you the ability, especially as a brand, to really get found and really start to create a narrative.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. What's funny too is you look at Spotify. They're doing video now with the audio.
Apple is too. They
Apple just
introduced it about
announced that,
a
right?
month ago or so.
Yeah. So they're all doing that. The only thing I noticed about those two platforms, which is interesting, is they're not user friendly yet with uploading the video. It's kind of cumbersome a little bit.
I still don't put it on either of those, so I don't have.
I do every once in a while. I probably will for ours.
Yeah.
Like certain ones I do.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a kind of like a tease for the audience. Maybe you're like, oh, this one has a video. Let me check this out.
Because like on our production, and I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, I've kind of made YouTube the primary. And now what we're recording for YouTube, we're actually just taking that audio and putting it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, whereas it was the reverse before.
It's not funny.
We were producing for audio and taking that audio and trying to make it fit for video. But we've really made video, especially for YouTube, our primary way to get found. And for most brands, if you position things the right way, it can really get found. But I think the thing people struggle with is they try to go for big keywords and big topics and things like that. And as a small brand, you really should be optimizing for search, right? You should be really trying to get found in a smaller way, and you're going to find.
And what does that mean? Just explain, if you want to kind of break that down a little bit. When you say keywords and things like, so for your industry, let's just say, I mean, my show's not about real estate anymore, but at one time it was. And so does that mean you're putting real estate in everything as far as keywords? Is that what that means? Or
so it would depend, right? Because so are you corporate real estate? Are you residential real estate?
Right, got it.
Are you regional real estate? Right? Are you just servicing a single town?
Right.
So like that's part of it, but now you get into the video topics. So like we'll use vidIQ, and what we'll typically do is give it a transcript.
Yep.
We'll say from this transcript, help us figure out we actually have connected vidIQ to Claude Cowork, so we can get more data out of it.
I didn't know about
There's
that.
a connector now that the two actually
Is it an API or something that does that?
It's a direct connector. So you can
whoa,
actually
didn't
pull
know that.
vidIQ's data directly into Claude Cowork.
Oh, I like that.
And what you can take a look at then is what keywords should we be ranking for?
Yep.
Because it might be, how do you get a title in, let's say Reading, Pennsylvania or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really,
Specific then.
really specific. It's not just real estate, because you have to think about how many millions of people are on YouTube talking about real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
So you
never
make it
gonna
you got to make it local.
It's not even just local. It's more topical, because like it gets down to, I'm talking about the Roman Empire, right? Okay. I'm doing lots of videos. We just did one about the fall of Roman Britain.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at very specific things having to do with who was emperor at that time, what things are happening in Britain. So there are going to be certain keywords we're trying to have in the title, the description, and then having a good thumbnail so people get that. Those things really do matter, because for a lot of people, they're looking at, okay, what's somebody like Jay Shetty doing? And the problem is Jay Shetty is a lot bigger than you, me, or anybody else out there.
Yeah.
So the way he optimizes is going to be different, because he already has a big brand, right? So he has millions of subscribers that his stuff is going out to. YouTube's going to test it against those subscribers, and it's going to get visibility. For a smaller brand, you don't have that large subscriber base to test against. So what you're testing against is search. So you have to give YouTube something to find. So right now for a brand, if you're going to win, it's going to be slow. But let's say if you have 100 videos and each one of those videos is pulling in initially a couple hundred views, and then over the next year, 25 views a day.
Right.
Well, let's put that across 100 videos.
Yeah, that's good.
So your channel starts to grow. You start to bring in people, and you start to find people that are interested in those topics. Like maybe they want to learn more about titles. Maybe they want to learn more about mortgages. Maybe they want to learn more about these different things. So it sets you up in a position where people are searching for something, and because you're optimizing for search, you are the result, and especially in your local area.
Awesome. So, and it kind of interweave, it's one of the things that I brought down, you had written down in one of your notes was, the difference between going viral and consistency. But
it's not just consistency, right? You can consistently create the wrong thing every day.
Oh, it's so true. So true. So true. Yeah. There's people in business that do that a lot, Yeah, so doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Definition
right?
of insanity.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's something a lot of people do. So, so let's get it. Like some of the notes that I have here is, one of the things you said, most successful companies don't just sell products, they build narratives people want to belong to. Give me an example of that, or what does that mean, the narrative around the product?
So I think Apple's a really great example of that, and maybe some people out there don't like the brand, some do, but they've done a great job with, if you're an Apple user, you have everything Apple in your life, because they've kind of created a brand feel and a brand aesthetic that attracts a certain type of individual.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, they're not considering that. And when I look at that in history, I think the first Roman emperor, Augustus, is a really great example of this, because Rome is really 3 eras in time. It's a kingdom first, then it's a republic, and then it's an empire. Augustus is the first emperor. He's not it's never Julius Caesar, though people like to say that.
Everybody thinks it
But
is.
the thing that Augustus has to do is he has to convince people that they still live in a republic while he's actually, in a lot of ways, their king.
Oh, wow.
So what does he do? He issues creating new stories. He pays for people like Livy to write his Roman history. The Aeneid is written during this time of Virgil. So he's actually taking a look at what are the stories people are going to buy into that are going to make them feel more included in this.
Wow, interesting.
And if you look at the brands that are doing well, they're telling a story people don't just buy into, but they want to be a part of. So when you look at your brand story, how can you make somebody feel like this is, your real company narrative that they're a part of? You're not just telling them a story. How can you involve them in it? And I think, honestly, if you look at what you're doing here with the way you do a show, with the way you engage with your audience, you're creating a story people want to be a part of. And that's why I think having a brand that creates content in this way is really vital. So when you're looking at that in your brand, how can you do that?
Yeah.
How can you create something people want to be a part of? And sometimes it's looking at what's happening in media at that time, what's happening in your local community, whatever it might be. But you have to find a story you can pull people into and start to build the narrative, because one of the biggest problems I see with brands is people say, well, I'm just going to wait till the media finds me.
Oh,
And Brad, you know when they're going to find you?
Yeah, never.
When you steal something from a store,
Yep,
or you get
exactly.
a parking ticket,
Bad-
or you get in
bad
trouble.
press.
They'll find you, and you'll be
Yeah.
on the,
Yeah.
these stories and more at 6:00.
Yeah,
you'll be a part of
exactly.
that.
Yes.
When you're seeking getting out there, you actually have to be the one to tell your story and fill that void. And I think for a lot of people, if they don't get that, you're not going to get to that next level of growth. So you have to figure out what is your brand story and how are you going to tell it. So when you're looking at your individual brand, we have a brand standards manual. It's almost 100 pages. It covers how does the brand communicate? How does the brand feel? What does it stand for? What fonts do we use? What color schemes do we use? How are the different ways our logo is used? So when people on our team are actually communicating, it feels like the same brand narrative that's coming out in all those places. So when you're looking at your brand, these are things you have to really create a cohesive story that feels like something people want to be a part of and that always communicates consistently.
Yeah, and it seems like, and there's a couple things in there that I think.
Sorry,
that
I say a lot when I talk.
No, you're good. You're
It's,
very
it's a
detailed.
North Jersey thing, man.
It's okay. No, but what's interesting is, we talk about this all the time in our industry and any industry. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will.
Yeah.
And it probably won't be the story that you want to hear. So you have to create that story.
Correct.
That
You have
story.
to fill the void.
Exactly. Because if you don't, somebody will fill that void. Yeah, it's interesting with the branding part and going back to the Roman Empire part. That's just an interesting tie. But there's so many similarities like that that I've seen on your podcast. I actually know when I was looking at your Instagram and looking at different stories, and actually your Facebook was a good place too. I was looking in there and it was interesting, some of the stories and some of the things. Actually, one of the quotes that I had from there, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. That was a quote. I don't know if it was yours or whatever, but it was on your Facebook.
It's been often attributed to Mark Twain, but then there's other people that said he didn't say it, but maybe Mark Twain.
Dig into that. I mean, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. So I get the rhyme part, but I guess it's not the same exact thing. Hey guys, if you're looking to buy or sell a house in Berks County or beyond, let me know. This is Brad Weisman from the Brad Weisman Show. You probably know I'm also a realtor, but I wanted to remind you, if you have any questions or you need anything, please give me a call, 484-256-5836. Thanks.
But because people often say, history repeats, and, that's kind of a glib way of looking at it, and it's not really true. It's... you and I are in a similar age. Remember, you used to go to the mall and there'd be that sign that said, not that people go to the mall anymore, but there was that sign that said, you are here, and you got to figure out where it is. People tend to think history's like that, like, oh, this is exactly what happened. And now we're 50 years from this or 100 years from this. And it's just not like that. History is patterns. You can see things that repeat, but just because it repeated didn't mean you're going to actually have that same result, whether it's good or bad or whatever it might be, because you can see a pattern. And based on a pattern, you can react, right? One of the biggest things I talk about is monetary debasement. Our national debt, what is it like?
36 trillion?
Is it 30 trillion? Thank you. I think it was close to 40 trillion.
I follow
or
it.
like that.
I follow it, yeah.
So it's a big number, right? And if you look at the way our inflation number is given, they don't give you kind of inflation over time. They give you year over year. And it doesn't, being in real estate, you would know there's certain things it doesn't include. And I think building materials is one of those. So you look at that and you're like, well, building materials have gone up a lot. Which has caused home prices to change a lot. But those things aren't included in inflation. So you're saying, oh, inflation went up 2% from last year. It's like, oh, well, that's not that bad. If you actually include a lot of those things and you look at kind of the early 19th century to now, we're actually somewhere around 3,000 to 3,500% inflation. And that means every dollar in your pocket is worth less. Now, as I mentioned, Rome by the late 3rd century is at 15,000% inflation, which means that the coins I showed you, they were bronze now, they had a silver coating over top of them. So people thought they were silver back in the day. So they would flake off in their hand.
So they basically, we did that too with our coins. They used to be,
we don't make the penny anymore either. But
exactly.
The reason I say that is because, okay, that's a problem. It's not 15,000% yet, but it doesn't mean there's things we can do about it. I don't have those solutions. I don't know if it's, changing the way our money is done or changing what it's based on, whatever it might be. But when you look at history repeating, it gives you a warning sign. And a warning sign means that people that are aware can do something. And, maybe the individual person can't do something about our money supply, but you can do something about where your money's going. And right now, a lot of smart people are investing in real estate. They're investing in land. They're not investing in currencies and things like that because they're not really stable. So as a business person, it tells you to take a look at where your investments are going, but also the type of businesses you're running. Because if you're running a business that let's say the power grid goes down. Well, maybe being an AI isn't a great place to be.
Right.
But if you own the land, that's a really great place to be.
Because now they can build a...
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
so it just means that, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to have a bunker where you have all your stuff. Growing up, my mom had a bunker. It was a little weird, but
She was one of those?
she was one of those. You went in our basement. It kind of looked like Costco.
Oh my God,
But it doesn't mean you have to have that, right? It just means that you're aware of how patterns are happening. And because of that, you as an individual can react in a certain way that if things don't go well, hey, you're in good shape. And if they go great, you're in better shape. Yeah. So it just really shows us based on what has happened, what could happen or what couldn't happen. And we can just prepare based on that.
Yeah. And and that's where there's some people are just doom and gloom about all this stuff. It just drives you crazy.
Well, I think there's also hope too, because if you look at the Roman Empire, it had initially it's one part, but over time it gets so big, it eventually becomes two. It becomes an Eastern Empire and a Western Empire. Yeah. And the Eastern Empire survives for two different reasons, but one of the key ones is that Constantine, who's kind of the first emperor to really move a lot of the power east, gets his currency on a gold standard. So it goes for 1,000 years without inflation. Yeah. Or 700 years without inflation. Yep. So that's a big deal, right? So I think it just shows us that there are always solutions. If you want to find doom, you can look throughout history, man. You'll find lots of doom. But there's also a lot of good things that can be found if you know what can happen and react the right way. Yeah.
And one of the things recently I've heard somewhere in a podcast or interviewed somebody, and it was awareness gives you choices. Choices give you freedom. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was it's a cool way of looking at it. Is that we're aware. I think the reason we look at history is to just be aware of the possibility.
Correct.
The possibility of what could happen. It might not happen. It might not be anything close to that.
Yes.
But it gives you the awareness of it. Goes, okay, this could happen, and then we can then make choices, and then that gives you freedom along with that. So I think that's good stuff.
I think also as a business person as well, you start to look at. You need to scale faster. You need to build systems that are harder to break, right? It's not a bad idea to have physical systems and have a physical office, right? Because you're actually in better condition than a lot of people that are based on certain things that could see disruptions. If there is any power grid disruptions or things like that, doesn't mean we'll have them. Yeah. But it does mean that you look at scaling faster, you look at getting better systems, and I think it just motivates you for what you can do, and also getting more involved in local. It's kind of interesting. I feel like right now being more involved in local is more important than ever.
Absolutely, because that's where everything really happens. Yeah, it happens on a local level. It's totally where it happens. But so let's go into some of this other stuff. How the strongest brands create legitimacy and trust before they try to sell anything. And I think this was something about when we were into the Apple thing. So. What I thought was interesting is, and you're right about Apple, you're right about Coca-Cola, we're right about Kellogg's, we're right about
cultural brands.
Yeah, and what happens is if Kellogg's comes out with a new cereal, I'm going to try it. You know why? Because I like their other stuff. Yeah, and I trust that they're going to come out with something good. Yeah. So I think a lot of times when you trust that brand, and that's the hard thing to get. I mean, it's really hard to get. Look how cars are. Well, there's people that won't buy anything but a Ford. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. They will not buy anything but a Ford. And that's what I call amazing branding, amazing trust building. Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
But even it's simple things like as stupid as it is, jingles work.
Oh, gosh,
everybody knows the Cars for Kids song.
Oh, geez. If I hear that one more time, I swear I'm going to run off the road. But there's two different Cars for Kids now. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's why they do KAR. They do that. There's two different Cars for Kids. One spelled with a K and one spelled with a C.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. So somebody must have come out with another Cars for Kids and the other company got pissed off. Oh my God. They're like, oh, we'll show them. But the one that we hear is that KARS Cars for Kids. Yeah, that's the one that everybody hears.
But I think though it's interesting because a lot of businesses won't spend money on things like that anymore, right? But if you look at that, once you get in somebody's head in that way, that value is enormous, right?
It's incredible.
Or something as simple as Capital One's our business bank. I pull up my Capital One card and my kids always go, what's in your wallet? And I'm like, okay, the 7-year-old knows it. And I think those things are, for some reason, those branding and those imagery and those slogans are actually vital. Yeah. And a lot of people won't invest in those things. They take a look at what's going to get me more leads, what's going to get me more business. And here's the problem. Do you remember the game Hungry Hungry Hippos?
Oh, of course. I love that game. I think we have it for our kids. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's plastic now, though.
Is it plastic?
It used to be metal. Yeah. Yeah, we could beat the crap out of the thing.
I was born in the early 80s, man. So it was metal.
Seriously, it was metal back then. The one now, if you hit it too, I think I broke my kids. But if you hit it too hard, the whole hippo flies off the damn thing. Yeah. But go ahead, tell me your story.
But the reason I say that is because a lot of brands that are like, I just need leads, I just need leads, I just need leads. Now, listen, you do need them because if you don't have leads, you don't have money, you don't have a bottom line, right? Yep. But if you look at it, there's really 3 parts to doing well. There's your public relations, your marketing, and your sales. If you don't have all 3, you will be playing hungry hippos forever.
Wow.
Because if you're not closing sales, then that means your marketing's not good enough. But if your marketing's not converting, it likely means people don't trust you enough.
Yep.
And I think for some reason, people won't really spend money, and I see this in the conversations I have, in the things that will actually change hearts and minds, right? If you're looking at public relations is the sale of an idea.
Yeah.
And if you get someone to buy an idea, they're going to buy into your marketing, it's going to convert better, and you're going to sell better. But if you're just looking at, I just need leads, which to a certain extent is true, you're playing hungry hippos forever because you're never going to change the scene or change the situation. If you change the way you're perceived, well, then when somebody sees you against a competitor, well, yeah, I remember that guy. He paid for our softball team, or he did something at our school, or I saw him on that show. So it starts to create trust. And, at a certain point, everybody's good at what they do, right? But so it becomes, well, I trust that guy, I know that guy, and I believe that guy, I'm going to buy with him.
Yep.
And that becomes the real difference. And that's something you can't quantify in a KPI.
No.
But it's actually incredibly vital because you've changed somebody's mind. But a lot of businesses, for some reason, will not invest in that.
It's amazing. And it's interesting is I'm writing a book right now. It should be out at the end of this year, beginning of next year. It's called The Human Advantage. And it's all about building trust in an AI world.
Yeah.
And being human in an AI world. I love AI. I'm not negative about AI at all.
The way I use it in my process, I use it so much.
Love it. Yeah, it's great. But I also think that we as humans are we're going to crave human connection, and we still need to trust somebody. We still need to build that trust, because one of the questions I ask our agents here to do some training, and I say, what's more important, experience or trust? And I totally believe trust is more important.
I can agree with that.
And the reason being, and that's my quote is, my experience is only as good as your trust in it. And the reason being is that you could be a doctorate in your field, but if people don't believe you, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it doesn't matter at all. So trust, building relationships and building trust, to me, is the number one key in branding. To me, it's like very important.
Well, and one of the things I talk about, we might have talked about this last time,
Maybe,
but it's something about, and I think local businesses initially have a real big advantage a lot of them don't see.
Yeah.
And that's that you have local newspapers that are really easy to get in if you write a press release. So it really gets back to taking a look at, you are a big fish in a small pond somewhere. Where can you take advantage of that? Like, is there a university publication you can be a part of?
Good.
Is there a local part of your community you can get involved in? And that's what PR can be on a small scale. Like, we used to do work for a podiatrist, and that podiatrist had a run he would sponsor every year because feet and running, right? So you're actually getting in front of your public. So it doesn't have to be, I was on Business Insider or I was an entrepreneur. I think for a lot of people, they want those things. I think it's a little bit of vanity that gets into it. But you look at what's actually going to be effective to people knowing me. And if you start locally, you can actually make money for the PR you're doing right off the ground. And that starts to create the trust. So it becomes easier to get a lot of the PR things you want to get.
Yeah. No, that's so true. So true. And it kind of was with the podcast here. I mean, I wasn't able to get people to come to the studio for the longest time, right? Right, Hugo? I mean, it took us some time to get people to come in here. Hugo's here. Hugo's always here. He's always here. He's my buddy. But, it took us a while for him and I to get people to come in here. And what happened is we got Sylvie DeGiusto is probably the one that kind of put us on the map. Is she came here from wherever, was traveling to Philly. We got her to come into the studio, and getting that one person that was notable and was good and was really good at what she does, really started to put us on the map for getting people here. And I appreciate you being here today. But like Sam Dema, I know you probably know, I don't know if you know who Sam Dema is, one of my favorites. He was just here from Canada, and he was just here in the studio. Just an amazing person. You need to follow him. You'll love him. He's young, 26 years old, and he's lighting the world on fire.
Wow.
He's just incredible. So so let's go. But
I think even in the media world, I think that's an important point to make as well, because you could have a great story, you could have a great framework, you could be telling it in the right way, but until you get something that really legitimizes you in a lot of ways, it becomes harder to get other things. I was on the Sean Ryan show in February, which was one of my favorite.
I followed that on your
It was
socials.
one of my favorite conversations.
Awesome.
And you actually sent me a DM. You're like, hey, you're supposed to come see me. What the heck's happening? Man?
And then
you're going to Tennessee, but you won't come to Pennsylvania.
And then I asked them to come here, and then I say I'm sick. So then I can understand why.
But here's the thing, like Sean having that conversation with me, like I haven't changed as a guest, but the fact that he was willing to do that now had other creators start to look at me, right? And I think you have to understand once again, it goes back to trust. And
he trusted you. He trusted you big time. And you're bringing content that he thinks his audience is going to love.
Yeah. And they had told me no a year and a half ago. And then I ended up writing a thread on X from one of his posts that basically took what he said and explained how everything fit into Rome. And he sent me a DM. He's like, can you be in Nashville in 2 weeks? I'm like, absolutely. Of course I can be in Nashville in 2 weeks.
I'll go to Nashville anytime.
But I think the thing about that is when you're telling a story, it's about continuing to get more credibility. And as you get better platforms, you can get better platforms. I think a lot of people have this idea, and we run into this with clients sometimes. They come to you and they think they've arrived at Golden Corral, and they kind of like, I'll take the one of those. And it's like, you have to kind of earn your way there, right?
Yeah.
And that really is how media works, is continually getting more credibility. Even if you're well known in your space, you might not be well known in kind of the media space. So you have to gradually build up to get where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. No, that's good stuff. So this was something I saw in here. How to identify a big idea that makes you memorable instead of just another expert in your industry. Like the big idea thing is huge, but that's such a, how do you find it?
Yeah.
Is it right in front of you? Is it something that's just unique about you? That's the big idea. It's because we're all unique in our own way.
Well, I think part of it is being willing to have conversations, because I'll give you the Rome example again, just because for me, this is the most real one. And as I said, initially, I was talking about anything people wanted to ask me about Rome.
Yeah.
And I treated it in some ways as a survey, and in some ways a way to, I hadn't done long form interviews about this stuff. This is just what I did in school. So I had to also get better as a guest. So you start to realize one part is a survey. What do people keep asking about?
Yeah.
What things should I learn more about? What things should I read more about? So you start to develop those things people are always asking for. And for me, that started to develop a framework, and that's what later became, not till January this year, I started calling the Roman pattern.
Yeah,
what are the three things that cause civilizational collapse? Money, the way you're handling borders, the way you're handling your politicians, those three things very often lead to a problem. Those are things that I came to the conclusion by people continually asking me about it.
Yeah.
Day one, I didn't have it. It was just having conversations, listening. And you start to see, what is it people are looking for? How can I actually tie this into the history? And how can I really develop this into a framework? Because when you look at bigger shows and bigger platforms, they think in big ideas.
Yeah.
It's not just, another sales tactic or another marketing tactic. They think about what are kind of these society pushing or civilizational shifting ideas. And I think initially that can be really discouraging to somebody, because they might see, well, I don't have a societal shifting idea or whatever it might be. But let's say, here's an example. We're always watching the news cycle. Let's say you're in Florida. Hurricane rips through.
Yeah.
You are a roofing guy. You get out there and you start talking about roofing.
Yeah.
And you talk about it. You're going to find that there's certain things people are asking about. You might find a new way to communicate about what you're doing that can take you higher than your space. Maybe you develop a new way to communicate about hurricanes that hasn't been looked at before. Next thing you know, you're having big conversations, you're writing a book, you're doing different things, but you wouldn't have known that had you not stepped out of your comfort zone and figured out, how do I tie what I'm doing in either to the news cycle or what's happening in media or where people are.
Yeah.
So you have to look at that in your industry. And we saw a lot of people do this during the pandemic, as they figured out how to tie what they're doing into how society's changing. Whether it's restaurants that got really good at doing the takeout way, you could pull into their parking lot and you can have your food order ready, and they figured out how to change in that. So it's the ones that look at that news cycle and figure out, I'm not just going to be effective of this, I'm going to be effective with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean day one you have to have the big idea, but you continue to have conversations, you continue to enhance what you're talking about, and you're going to find you get closer to a big idea through experience and really through the survey of learning from what people are saying.
Yeah, it's a good point. The whole COVID thing is just crazy, because when you said that about the restaurant, we have a restaurant here locally, which I think every community had this. There was one restaurant
the
in our area.
negative side is my grocery store closes at 9 still, but
So does ours. So does
it
ours.
used to be open until 10.
Ours was open until midnight, or sometimes 24 hours. But there's a local restaurant called Austin's. They stepped up like I've never seen.
Yeah.
And what's amazing? They still use the same takeout systems.
That's a big idea.
That were developed during COVID.
And that's a big idea.
Yeah, it's a huge idea.
Because
and they're so good at it.
It develops and it gets better, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's an earth-shattering big idea, but it's a big idea that's different to how that industry
Well, it was a
functions.
necessity.
Yeah.
It was a survival at first.
Yeah.
And then it became, hey, this is going to be a profit margin here that
Correct.
we've just now created. Because now when the restaurant opens, we've got this going like crazy.
When you had other restaurants that said, okay, well, we're just going to wait this out.
Yeah, bad idea.
And it kind of sucks because some
Bad
of those
idea.
aren't around. But
No.
they innovated, they found a way to do it, and now they've actually changed their systems. So that is a big idea.
Yeah.
You figured out how to do something different that wasn't initially formed out. I think a lot of people have this idea, I need to sit and think, and I'm going to come up with this really big idea, and it's going to be earth-shattering.
Yeah.
You're going to find the big idea comes through work and testing, right? That's what it really comes from.
Action. Comes from action.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm sure you've seen that in your world. Like
gosh,
you probably look
dude.
at things day one that you think dramatically differently. They're actually a huge part of what you do now.
Yeah. Oh, it's completely. I'm in the business 34 years. July 12th will be in 30. What is today? I don't even know what today is, but July 12th will be in 34 years. And the amount of changes that I've seen from July of 1992 to now is just incredible in our business. But the thing is I never fought it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people in any business need to be aware of. You can't fight change. You have to figure out, how am I going to use this change?
Correct.
To maybe come up with the big idea, or to
Correct.
to keep becoming more successful. And that's one thing, everybody, after 34 years, I'm doing AI now. I'm going to be 56 years old. I'm doing AI. I'm doing all the things that some of these younger people in this business don't even do. So you just got to stay on it. You got to keep doing it.
Well, and I think once again, it comes back to not thinking you have to have that big idea day one.
Right,
It's
exactly.
iterations and iterations and iterations.
Absolutely.
And you even look at the iPhone you have now versus the first iPhone that came out that was kind of worthless, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But it does so many things, and it took them, 15 years to get the product they have. That doesn't mean day one you're going to have it. It doesn't mean it has to take 15 years either. It took me 4 to kind of figure out how to make this to work in a way that people understand it, communicate it, and are interested in it. But it really is that willingness to kind of shift in the right way and shift in a way at the same time that also doesn't take away from your brand, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of people that shift with wind. And that's why it's really important. The biggest piece of advice I can give to people out there is take time, sit down and do a brand standards.
Yep.
And people might hear that and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, here's the thing. Take out your ChatGPT and say, this is what my company is. This is what my website is. I want to do a brand standards. Give me the list of questions I should answer in order to answer a brand standards. It gives you a list of questions. You answer them. It starts to help you write it.
Yes.
Now you can take that later on and have somebody in your team do copywriting for it, but it doesn't mean that it's undoable.
Yeah.
I find that I use AI a lot, but I use it like an idiot.
Yeah.
People come up with these great prompts and everything else. I just keep asking questions so I get the results I want.
Till you get, exactly.
You never say make it better. That is not the thing you can.
What does it say?
So the
What does it
most
come
used
back
prompt
as?
on
Is
ChatGPT
make it
is
better?
people say make it better, but it doesn't give it any feedback on what you actually
gotta
want
give
or
it
what you want to
feedback,
improve.
yeah.
Like, hey, change the pacing or change the tone it's being written in or whatever it might be. Never say make it better. But the point I'm saying is, you can do these things with some of the tools out there easier than ever before. And the number one thing I would say is take a weekend, do a brand standards, and you're going to find that actually having that is going to get everybody on your team the same place, because I guarantee you there's somebody on your team that was like, hey, I'm going to use AI and I'm going to make a flyer. And you see that flyer and doesn't look like your company, has nothing to do with it.
And
it's
it pulls
terrifying.
It pulls a logo from somewhere else.
It makes up a logo.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And it's
yes.
terrifying.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
And that's something that can not only be prevented, it can actually take that person and make them an asset, because now they can do what you want exactly. And if they're going to use AI, fine, they can give AI your brand standards.
Right.
So the result they're getting is actually going to be on brand for you. So I think really figuring out how to use these things in the right way and make sure that your brand is being represented in the right way is vital. It really is for recognition.
And as agents on an individual level, I mean, we see agents, real estate agents that are putting their picture into AI and
Oh, no.
you don't even recognize.
Is it as
these
bad as the realtor that uses the picture from 4 years ago?
4 years ago, how about high
40
school?
years ago.
Yeah,
40
40 years ago. Yeah, or the picture of me on the album.
You
over
meet
here.
him and you're like, he doesn't look like that at all.
And what is
Who's
that?
guy? Is
And
that
you
your
know what's
brother?
funny? To me, that destroys trust right there.
Exactly.
If I show up and you can't be honest with yourself on how you look today,
Yeah.
at this time in your life, that to me, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
So what will you do to me?
Yeah.
Right? If you're lying to yourself, you're going to lie to me too.
I was
So
listening to my wife this morning. It's like my last headshots were like 6 years ago, and like I didn't have a mustache, and like I'm almost 40.
I've
now
seen some
compared to
of
my
them,
early 30s, and I'm like, we kind of need some new ones soon. But that trust point is
huge.
very, very important. That's why I think, once again, use AI, but don't let it make you look 30 years younger.
And
It's not gonna
I've
make
seen people
trust
do
you.
that. It's terrible, terrible. Let me see here. This is one of the things that you had said here was, how business leaders can build a personal brand that outlives individual products, companies, or market cycles. I think we kind of touched on that.
We did, because it really comes back to what is your unique framework and what is the thing people can really associate with you. And I think that comes back to, your social content being done tied in with that, what you're talking about being tied in with that. And it really comes down to what is the unique framework I'm known for? Yeah. And a lot of people don't want to spend the time to do those iterations we were talking about to come up with that. So I think that really kind of covers that.
Let's go back into podcasts. When I first talked to you, we talked about podcasts, and we were talking. I know that was a thing that you guys were really pushing on is starting podcasts and creating. Couple questions. Do you think that we still have the voice that we had 6 years ago as a podcast host or a podcast guest? Okay. One of the things I get concerned about is, are the ABCs, NBCs, Foxes, are they going to start purchasing the bigger podcast people and then have control of what the content is? That scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because the great thing about podcasting is that I can say whatever hell I want and nobody controls me. Are you seeing any change of that? And also, do you think it's still a good idea for an individual or a business or somebody that has something they want to say to start a podcast?
I do, but once again, it gets back to unique perspective. If you're going to figure out a way to, tie it into a unique perspective, and that could even be, there's actually a huge gap with local businesses using podcasts that aren't. Once again, real estate. You could work with the title guy. You could work with the home inspection guy. You could work with the mortgage guy. And you could be interviewing those people locally. It doesn't ever have to go out to a lot of people, but it starts to have an impact with, number one, your networking, because you're meeting people that you either are working with or could be working with, but you're also getting known locally. So I think that's a huge gap people are missing. So that's one thing I think that people are totally missing, that if they get into that, it's not really going to go away because it is hyper local. Yeah. The other part I would say is we are starting to see more of this buy-in. And I host another podcast for a book club called the Athenian Book Club. Okay, and we actually interview professors and people about some of the best well-known books in history. So we just did Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea. We did Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. And we bring in these professors and have conversations about these books.
Those are probably deep conversations.
Oh, let me tell you, man, they are some... We did the Brothers Karamazov recently, and the professor corrected me because I totally butchered the name. I was like, Karamazov. And I've read the book, but it doesn't mean I can pronounce the word.
Yeah, right. And would he tear you apart?
She was really nice about it. Yeah. She was like, first of all, it's Karamazov, so we're going to say that correctly. Yeah. But anyway, one of the guys that I do the show with sent me a link to another podcast. And he's like, oh, can we learn anything from this one? They've only been out since February, and they're, getting 50,000 views an episode and everything else. I did a little research, and I'm like, well, yeah, they're owned by the BBC. So, of course, they're going to be doing, they're probably tied into YouTube. They're probably YouTube's probably prioritizing them over other channels. Yep. So the thing I would say is there definitely is that, but there's always been that, right? I think still you have the ability to get out there because there's hosting platforms available, because you could do these things at home. But it gets back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Really having a unique idea, really caring about your aesthetic, and honestly, you're going to have to handle your overhead, right? Because in order to do what these channels are doing, you're going to have to bring in things like AI to actually lower your overhead. So even for me, I have two different channels, one called The Roman Pattern, where we talk about civilizational collapse. And for the last year, we've been going through, the 3rd century into the 4th century. And now we're handling like the 5th century, which is the fall of Roman Britain. And then we're going to go back around and go to the Republic at the end of the year. Cool. My other channel is called the Hidden Forces in History. We take a look at kind of the power structures behind documented history. So I just did a really fun...
So where can we find all these channels? Because I'm sure there's people listening that are definitely going to be interested in... And I think that the main reason that people will be interested in, and we go back to where you were, but I think the reason that I liked watching it, I had no interest in Roman Empire stuff at all until I saw your stuff. Because you start reading it and you're sitting there going, whoa, that's similar. That's kind of what we're going through right now, and you're like, okay, so the free food thing, we're going to get free food out now. So, okay, that's interesting.
The grain dole. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. So I that's stuff that, where can they find you to hear that stuff? How did where are these channels?
I have two channels on YouTube. We're also on Rumble, though. We don't really, I think Rumble's kind of harder to grow on, but we have, the Roman Pattern, and then Hidden Forces in History. We look at kind of the power structures behind documented history. We have a really fun episode coming out next week about the Habsburg Jaw. Are you familiar with the Habsburg Jaw?
No.
So the Habsburgs were a family that was one of the biggest royal families in European history.
Oh, wow.
And the way they held power is they continued to marry their cousins. So when you have family members that...
jaw. Is that
correct.
What it is?
So it's actually a genetic deformity because they were so closely related that when they would marry, they would get these genetic deformities.
You're kidding me.
And the last Habsburg dynasty was in Spain, and the final Habsburg king was Charles II. And by the time he dies, he's gone bald in his like early 20s. The autopsy they did said he had the heart the size of a peppercorn, and he had this jaw and this upper lip protrusion that was so far he couldn't even chew his food. So he's on a
because he was
diet.
so ancestral, like
and he was impotent, so he couldn't have any.
That's probably good.
That's
probably a good idea.
That might be a good thing. But like those are the kind of things we look at. Is like how do those things in history look like, and what can we learn from that, right? And that you can kind of take that and apply it to. It's really a system. How can you apply that to other systems, whether it's banking, whatever it might be?
Yeah.
So that's what we look at in hidden forces in history, and sometimes we have a little fun with it, looking at things like the Habsburg jaw.
That's interesting.
But the reason I'm giving that example is what we've actually done with those channels is I lean pretty heavily on it's myself and one video editor. And we're able to put out 2 high quality videos a week in addition to the company videos we do, the client videos we do, and everything else, because we lean pretty heavily on Claude and vidIQ.
Yeah.
You know, initially we have a running content counter that I know what's happening for the rest of the year, but that might change based on, you know, maybe an interview comes up. Like we just had one of the top English scholars do the Wars of the Roses. So that might happen once in a while. But we kind of know what the rest of the year looks like.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look at actually using Claude is then part of our content strategy, right? So like, obviously I've researched a lot of these things. I've read a lot of these things. So initially I'll write a basic script, and then I have a Claude prompt that's 6 pages long that then runs through that and does a fact check and tells me, did I make a mistake? Is there another source I should read? What should I do? And then we take that end product and we actually run that through another Claude prompt that then helps to format it properly for a teleprompter.
Very cool.
And then it takes it and puts it on my Q prompter, which is the app we use. It puts it up on screen, and I can do a read.
I can see you reading. Yeah, I mean, not that I see it, but you can see that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to remember all that.
No way. Holy shit, that stuff's like.
But like that's kind of like the script writing process.
Yeah.
And we'll take that from there. And here's another thing: is we use AI a lot for images because as a small brand, number one thing you're going to run into is you don't have enough time to go out and find imagery that's not going to get you in trouble for copyright.
Yeah.
So we use B-roll as part of these because you don't want to just sit looking at my mug talking the whole time.
Yeah.
You want to be able to kind of see the things. So then we use hyper cinematic, hyper realistic B-roll. We actually just use ChatGPT for that.
You use ChatGPT for the B-roll too?
We do. So what we'll do is we'll give it the fully written script, and we'll actually have it outline what pieces of B-roll we should use, what they should look like. And the key thing we're using is hyper realistic and hyper cinematic, something that really creates that cinematic feel, like that real brand feel we're looking for.
Very cool.
So then we'll use it to create that, and then the editor will actually edit the video with jump cuts because those long gaps of me talking might not be interesting, and then put in the B-roll. So we figured out how to take a process and really streamline that, and it doesn't take a lot of money and it doesn't take a lot of people. So as a brand, you need to take a look at your processes and say, well, how can I get at the highest level of quality possible at the lowest cost in a way that's really going to get my brand out there? Because that's right now the only way you're going to outcreate these big brands, because they are buying in. But I think there is still space if you're able to create incredibly good content. Like, do not create slop. It's not going to do well. Create good content that has value to people, and you can start to outcreate some of these big brands. You know,
and there's
still an opportunity.
There's also places like Reels. Like Hugo and I are always looking for like.
Our Reels are awesome.
Opus, we use Opus. I don't know who you use, but
we actually have
really
somebody in our team that she actually does everything still freehand. You know, she goes out and finds the right B-roll, adds the right sound effects and stuff like that. Like
we don't have that ability at this point. But what we do is we do the Opus, and it does a great job, and it actually does AI B-roll. So you have to go through it though, because sometimes
I had tried that a couple years ago, and it was
you
like
have to be careful.
I was like doing history, and it would give me pictures of pizza or something.
Pizza Planet, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, but it's funny. You have to be careful. You have to go through it to look at the B-roll to see if it is correct. Because I've had that too, where it picks out something, you're like, nah, that has nothing to do with this. But it does work for somebody. I always say, for somebody that doesn't have the funds, because it's not that expensive, you can use Opus, and it works. I mean, it works really well.
But even like for B-roll, you can use the $20 a month ChatGPT membership.
And you
level.
just put the video in there and it does it?
No, I don't put the video. I put the script. I put the actual transcript with the timestamps. That's really important.
Gotcha.
You want to have the version of the so it's actually already after we've recorded.
Gotcha.
So you put the version of the transcript in there with the timestamps, and then it can pace it out. Basically, like, you know, every 45 seconds you have a piece of B-roll.
Yeah.
And then we use the same thread over for that. And the reason we do is because it gets clearer and clearer and clearer on the aesthetic we're looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then what we'll do is you get to a certain point where the thread gets really slow. So you'll say to it, summarize the thread so I can start a new thread, right? So that's
cool. Very cool.
See how you can really keep the brand aesthetic, keep the quality high, but then also keep it in a way that you can start to outcreate some of these bigger brands, because there is still an opportunity, but you have to be better.
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
do.
You got to fund things. Well, before we end this show here, you got to show me the coins.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the coins that you have there. These are pretty serious coins. So why don't you show us what you have there?
Yeah, so this is shout out to my friend Dean Kinzer from Kinzer Coins, kinzercoins.com. So he sends me a lot of cool stuff. So this is Emperor Trajan Decius from 250. This is a silver denarius.
Silver denarius. And what
This is
exactly is that?
250 AD. Denarius was like the main coin that they used. By this point, the purity is at 4% by the 270s. So we're probably somewhere around like 30 to
Coins
30%
here.
around pure silver. Most of it's bronze at that point in time. This is Probus as you get to the 270s. You can see it is like bronze.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
What it
It's
would
all
have
dark.
had is it would have had basically like a silver coating. It would look like aluminum foil. And it starts to flake off in people's hands. So they start to trust the money a little bit less.
Yeah, it's definitely more bronze.
This is...
How old are these again?
So that's 270 AD. So, that's almost 2,000
Do you have any of these
years
coins
ago.
in your pocket, Hugo? No, you know?
I don't know if anybody would accept them.
I know some really true, cheap, frugal people that probably have
This
them
is
yet.
my one of my favorite Roman emperors. His name is Aurelian. His nickname is the Restutor Orbis, or the Restorer of the World. In the late 3rd century, the Roman Empire had fallen into 3 pieces because basically they couldn't control it anymore. And he actually reunites the West, which is the Gallic Empire, and the East. In a 5-year period, he reconquers everything. Brings it all back together, starts to issue new coins, and then he's killed by his secretary. So that's,
nice.
that's his
There you
reward.
go.
It's a really, really great place to be.
He doesn't get killed by his producer, does he?
The producer, I think, was okay.
Yeah,
the producer
okay.
was
Okay.
safe.
Good.
And then actually, this guy here, this is Valerian in 260. He's actually not the guy that causes, but the event that happens to him is one of the key things that causes Rome to break into those 3 pieces.
Yeah.
He's goes into battle against Shapur I, who is the king of the Sassanid Persians. And Rome and Persia is kind of always fighting each other for like hundreds of years. But he's the first Roman emperor to fall in battle to a enemy of Rome. And he's actually captured by Shapur I and used as a footstool the rest of his life. There's actually a statue that was made in the last 2 years in Tehran of Shapur I using Valerian as a footstool. So he's never recovered, he's never brought back, and it shows how weak is Rome at that point. It can't go get his emperor back. And that's one of the key things that leads to it breaking into 3 pieces that Valerian has to restore, but then doesn't live to see anyway.
Unbelievable. So those coins, they're so cool, man. I love that. And I love the way the Roman stuff just blows my mind. And also the amount of knowledge that you have and how you can just
I'm like Rain Man.
It's really crazy, man.
242 230.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's phenomenal, and I'm so glad we did the show today. I'm sorry
again,
that
I really appreciate you making it go right.
Kind
I
of
know you
pussing
didn't feel
out
great
this morning, but no, I didn't. But I'm good now. So no, we're good. Thank you for being here, Jeremy. How do we find you? Give us your socials. Give us all that stuff.
So our company is Command Your Brand, and we definitely help with some podcast production. But the main thing that we do is we actually help our clients appear on other podcasts as guests, get their messages out there.
I've had your people on my show,
and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Much. And I actually see behind us you have Get Shit Done Coffee, which is Frank.
Oh, I
which is
love
a client
that.
of ours.
Oh, that's how I found him, I guess.
Oh yeah. He's got
He's
great
awesome.
stuff.
Great
He's
coffee
awesome.
too.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And
Awesome.
he sends me the cans that my kids try to steal from me.
Yeah.
And then I'm at Jeremy Ryan Slate everywhere. I use my middle name only because my parents named me after a cowboy actor with the same name, so I couldn't get found on the internet for years. So whenever I heard Jeremy Ryan Slate, it meant I was in trouble. And I guess I've kind of reclaimed my name in a way.
Yes,
now that it's
because now you're in trouble again.
Now I'm in trouble again. So I'm at Jeremy Ryan Slate everywhere. And then, as I mentioned, my 2 channels are Hidden Forces in History and The Roman Pattern, which if you want to hear those in the audio format, it's the Jeremy Ryan Slate Show everywhere.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks,
and
man.
I hope you guys have a great weekend with the kids. It's going to be a good
Yeah,
time.
we're going to go to Dutch Wonderland. It's going to be a good time, man.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. There you have it. Jeremy Ryan Slate. We got to make sure we get the Ryan in there. He'll think his mom is yelling at him. But no, Command Your Brand. He knows all the stuff about the Roman pattern campaign. It's just amazing. So you want to check him out. I've been following him for a while, and just a great guy to talk to also. So we'll see you every Thursday at 7 p.m. All right. That's about it. Hi, this is Brad Weisman. Come back here every Thursday at 7 p.m. to watch the Brad Weisman Show. We have new guests every single week, and we love having you as an audience. All right, we'll see you soon.